Everybody back to LPL English podcast. We still don't have a name, but I'm joined here by K-Man yet again. And for the first time, we're bringing in Mazel. So have a little bit more admin crew love here on the show. Gentlemen, Lena, I'll go right straight to you. It's your first time on the show. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. It's crazy to me that we're already getting so close to playoffs, and it feels like we just started yesterday. But hey, that's the thing when you go every day.
Every day? Yeah, we're filming this on the 4th, so we're about 2 days out from the regular season being over. K-Man, is there anything that kind of speaks out to you immediately about just this season so far?
I think it's classic LPL where anytime you feel like you have a grasp on who is good, who is bad, who might be feeling good in general, it all just gets blown into the wind one day, one series later, and that keeps the league so exciting to watch. There's so much action happening in all of these games, so many gold leads thrown, and how can you be anything other than excited right now for LPL, which is almost certainly the most fun league in the world, like by far to watch at the moment.
Look, we've got a competitive format, so we've already got Europe beat out. We've got more games being played than LCS. We actually have a lot more games than LCK Cup right now.
We have more teams, more players,
boom,
more time on the Rift. Man.
Exactly. I went and checked, and this number is obviously not updated for today, but I saw that we were like 40 or 50 games up on LCK Cup, which I think is insane because we're only in February.
LGD has played as many games as the entirety of the LCS. By themselves.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at our standings updated for yesterday. Let's see if this works. Does this button work? No. All right. So guys, currently usual producer for the podcast, Ilya, is not here currently. He is having a job so we can continue to live here in this place. So he is, I'm having to remotely do this. Now, I'm hoping that this would have worked with the stream deck that I do have, but I'm just going to take a step real quickly.
Well, edit it out, edit it.
Yeah, no, I mean,
I'm not editing this. This is the edit. Boom. So, again, yeah, the standings coming in for tonight on Wednesday. Really sad what we saw yesterday. I think Weibo should have already been in playoffs, but a certain Afiri top and some real Weibo gaming happened. K-Man, just give me something, man. What are we looking at here, bro?
I think we are looking at like the most fun standings graphic that we could possibly have, and that's to say, I mean, even in Group Ascend, like the second best team in the league has 3 series losses. I mean, everybody is so close. We're still fighting it out over the last qualification spot in Group Ascend this late into the split. This almost never happens with this kind of parity, especially towards the bottom of the top group, and it's just really fun to watch. I mean, we're having teams, like you said, like Weibo that, I mean, game 1, I mean, they're popping off. Elk looks like he's the best player in the world. Yeah, they absolutely destroy anyone's legend in first place, and then just nothing from there. It's the Weibo classic, the Weibo special, and you can't help but love them for it.
I do wonder, though, like, this is a great ploy to keep the spice going in Group Ascend. You've got to make sure the top esports has some minute chance to make it in the top 4, because otherwise, what would the last couple days be? And I guess it just always has to happen that way at this point.
It's not looking good for them. If you don't know, for maybe some of our audio-only listeners, currently 7-2 for AL, BLG at 6-3, JDG 5-4, Weibo 4-5. Again, they should have won that game 3. They're up in gold.
100%. They're
playing Varus top for the second time. We saw Hoya pick it up first, and then they just misplay a bunch of fights, and maybe this starts to come into a conversation talking about Zika and his season so far. But this is just feeling like a Weibo. This just feels like the Weibo way at this point. This is not like they're underperforming. Weibo are just not a good team, not like a very strong team, I think is the phrasing I want to use.
I felt disappointed this morning when I woke up and watched it on my way to work, and I was sad.
I don't think we can be disappointed in Weibo anymore. We've been around the LPL long enough. This organization. It doesn't matter. The players don't matter. The grouping of them doesn't matter. They are going to beat the best teams in the league. They are going to lose to some absolute terrible teams, and they're going to throw away 5K gold leads regularly and still make worlds. It's just what they do.
I
Not last
gotta
year.
say, the nickname consistently inconsistent was something that we like started at LPL English like 3 years ago or something, when they had struggles like even making it through regionals and were having some awful times, and they were still like finding themselves in finals. I thought that nickname was awesome for like the first 6 months that we used it all the time, and the fact that that nickname still holds so true like almost 3 years later is ridiculous. Like, they always find a way to make that name pertinent.
Disgusting stuff, Weibo. And remember, Xiaohu is on a franchise contract right now, so we might need to be investigating him very soon. But wrapping kind of the rest of the standings, we did have Group Perseverance play a couple of series this week. Last night, we did see EDG take down WE in a very dominant 2-0. It felt weird because I remember building out the show and we had all of this like insane amounts of glaze for Karis and doing all of the WE stuff. And then we come into this game, we come into this series anyway, and it feels like 2025 Karis may have logged back into the server. Angel definitely had his number, and just the entirety of WE looked a little bit more of the form that we kind of got from them at the very beginning of the season before they went on their the streak that they had here in the group. But that keeps the whole Perseverance alive at this point, right? We're looking at NIP. Yeah. Maybe they finish third, fourth, or third, second. I don't know. Like, they're playing TT. If we're being honest, they're playing TT.
Yeah.
It's not gonna happen.
They've won one game. All right, they've won one game.
Yeah, and who was that against?
Tough. Hey, don't worry about it. So the thing I find hilarious, and I know this is kind of going back to a general overview, is some of the win-loss, like the plus minuses, right? Like, I find there's such gigantic swings throughout. Like, even in Perseverance, you have like, okay, +4, +3, +2, -9 for TT. Like, what are they even doing there, man? But you find that across every single group, and I just find it even funnier.
It is really funny, like, especially seeing the +10 on LNG down in Group Nirvana, just absolutely rolling through
the
everybody.
Kings.
Yes, truly one of the more fun teams to watch in the league right now. But for EDG, like last night, it was just so clear. Like, you watch that first series against WE where they both kick off their season, and Angel's not playing well. Their meta read is super slow. Same thing happened when they played NIP and they started 0-2. Angel just felt super off. The moment that guy started locking in again and getting back to that Angel that we kind of knew was a big initiator for the team. Like, Xiaohao, I think, has been super consistent. Leave is starting to not randomly die mid lane at 18 minutes every game, and it's starting to work out for them a little more. It just feels like they're finally becoming the team we wanted them to be. And, you know, I guess it's still early on in the year, but I'm glad it's happening now rather than split 2 or split 3 when they're stuck in Nirvana.
Pump the brakes now. Okay, look, it's one series for EDG. We know Rafa, a fellow caster on the show, really took it and ran as soon as he got in love with EDG. So there's one series. Let's wait for them to actually get into the playoffs, and then we'll have some spice. Because this is, if a lot of things have to go their way, obviously NIP need to not only win, but they also need to get a 2-0 versus Thundertalk, which isn't, I think, out of this world when we've already talked about their schedule. They might still have to play against some of these Nirvana teams, so we'll kind of keep track of them.
LNG's making the run, man.
That's the hope. That's the hope right now. We can kind of kick it over to Nirvana at this point. LNG at 6-0, a 10-game differential, a 10-plus game differential, which is absolutely massive. OMG at 3-3. I think that probably the most exciting part of this group, that OMG and LGD series that we saw earlier on, is there. Do we see a future for this OMG team, guys?
No. No. Dude,
Oh,
LGD should be there, man. LGD should have won that series. Come on.
I am on the other end of this. I think OMG had one big problem for most of this split. And he is gone now. Juhan seems to be on the bench. He's not playing anymore.
World champion is gone.
You're right. World champion. I got to give him his respect. Unfortunately, Maokai Sejuani, not super meta right now, so things are getting a little bit harder for Juhan. And he's, I think the jungle changed. Like, it is clear this team just needed anyone who could play early, aggressive champions and play fast and loose, because that's what Haichao has wanted to do. I think everybody on the team has started to play a lot better. Moham looked really good in Game 3 of that LGD series, and I think if you're just speeding up the pace of the game, it feels like they're more comfortable in that than a lot of the other Nirvana teams. Do I think that they're going to make Ascend? No, of course not. That would be an insane prediction for me to make. But I predicted this team to get out of Group Nirvana at the beginning of the split, and I'm glad to see that at least they're kind of living up to that expectation.
By any means necessary, says K-Man. You just get them out of the group. Whatever happens afterwards is not really my problem. Oh, do we think, gentlemen, that this is like I know you said you don't really expect them to make much noise in the play-ins, but do we maybe associate this with this is a new jungler? Teams maybe didn't have enough tape on Rio beforehand to really kind of see and get more data out of him? Or do we genuinely think that this team is actually like making proper strides into being a better team?
I feel like it's actually a big change. I just, in the LPL, jungle is so important for pace of play and strategic implications. And I think even if maybe it's a little bit of a new blood and maybe there's going to be some growing pains in terms of what decisions are made, I still think having, and a big trend we've seen through all junglers on most of the best teams in the league, is proactivity and pace. And I think that's something that OMG desperately needed, like you were saying, K-Man. And I think it actually makes a big difference for how they play, and not only that, but how that style fits the players a little bit more. So I think it's actually a full positive for OMG.
Yeah, I mean, of course, I agree here. Like, Rio is a player that I was intrigued by a lot in the offseason anyways, when it sounded like this was going to be a 6-man roster. And I think it's more than just what we've seen in the LPL. He's been excellent so far, but like in the LDL, he was a good prospect as well for a miserable OMG Academy team. Like they were not very good at all last year, and there were times where, you know, a lot of local fans were saying like, why is he playing on the Academy team and Tianjin's playing on OMG down in the LDL?
Oh boy, that was tough.
Here? So yeah, it was like, this is something that I think has been a long time coming for this org to promote him, and he's living up to it. He's gotten prospect pedigree. Again, even if he doesn't have the team success, he just is a good player, and he is raising the floor of what this team can do.
We'll take a look. This is just us going over some of the big beats from week 3. We talked on it a lot. There was Rio subbing in for the last 2 series of OMG. They bring them to 3-3, which I think is incredible after, you know, we put a lot of focus on Juhan and his failings on the org. And then we had the other big bombshell during the week. This was something that very quickly developed between the span of 4 hours. Bin leaves BLG, gets into an argument with the team leader during a review. They promote Wenbo from their academy and from their youth team. And then there are sightings of Bin, you know, already back home. He's like, I'm done. I'm not playing, whatever. There is a lot of speculation that BLG are probably going to have to play with their substitute top laner. And then 2 hours later, boom, he's back.
Tantrum's over.
And yeah, nothing's too bad. And then they lose immediately to Top Esports, which I think was probably like a fair, maybe cosmic retribution. Like, okay, you guys can't do that and still win. Like, this is just not allowed.
I just think it, like, I read too much into it, maybe. I always love looking at the player emotions and their faces and stuff. Dude, Bin was just stone-faced when they lost. He stared at his screen for like a good couple minutes and then got up, walked away. And I just think, like, if they win, and I said it on cast that day, like, if they had won that series, nothing matters. Like, all of the drama, it goes away. They lost, and it makes it 10 times worse. But I gotta give a shout out to Wenbo, man. Like, you were used as a tool to get this guy to come back to the fold. So I just want to know how he's feeling, but got to be ready to step in at any moment. And 369 fathered Bin in the last 2 games of that series. I thought it was really interesting the way that the kind of meta shifted out in that series in that top lane, and 369 really showed up there too. So a little bit sad for BLG, wondering what happens with that fluctuation later on, but hopefully for right now it's all right as rain.
I mean, it looked pretty bad in that series. You're right. Like, I think it came out, and like, even Knight, who I think was okay. Like, you're looking at Cream in Game 3 and being like, you shouldn't be playing.
Yeah.
Like, you should be out playing Knight. Like, that's not something that should be happening here. It just felt like everything was a little bit off for BLG. Obviously, you do feel bad for Wenbo. I almost sent out the tweet. I was real close right before this whole situation got resolved of like, if only BLGJ hadn't sold 2 different top laners this offseason to LPL teams. And yet, here we are. But Bin's able to make it back, and I think they got their, kind of mojo, their comeuppance against Weibo back at the beginning of the week. It did feel like everything was right. That felt like a week 1 BLG series with On playing really aggressive and Knight looking fantastic. And really, at the end of the day, like, that's the core of what this BLG team has done. So as much as I think there are problems on BLG, and I'm certainly maybe one of the lower people on them right now, I think they definitely have as good of a shot as almost anybody at being a top 2 team and representing this region internationally.
Just a little thing. I had this weird side tangent conversation and podcast I was on earlier in the week. Inspired fixes this team. Matt,
No.
the only import ever to make it to the LPL, Inspired goes away from Lion with all the troubles they're having. He comes into BLG, and they're the best team ever to grace League of Legends.
That would be crazy. I don't think that's happening though. I don't know if the Lion I don't know if the BLG coffers got enough for the Lion
that
contract.
Is the biggest, I think, problem here is I don't know if they got that buyout money coming in.
Yeah,
for
well,
Lion
BLG, if we're talking about like the teams or the orgs that have the most amount of money, it is like it's JDG, it's BLG, and it's Weibo. They're the 3 orgs that have huge title sponsors. BLG, Bilibili is a massive platform. Jindong have Intel. Weibo, again, another huge platform. Weibo is essentially where all of Chinese League of Legends lives. So it's not surprising that those are the 3 big orgs when it comes in terms of big money that they have. But perfect segue anyway to talk about our 2 top teams here in the league. What's going on with BLG and AL, man? Like AL, even before they lost Tabe, there was very clear signs that this team had a ceiling, and by split 3, they were kind of already done. The fact that they made top 8 was about as expected, but it's unfortunate that in 2 internationals in a row, they're the ones that have to play against T1. You're going to have to probably beat them at some point anyway, but it just sucks that they was in a lower bracket in MSI, and then it was here or at the quarterfinals in Worlds 2025. So that, alongside the fact that BLG, even before the bin drama, were already looking semi-vulnerable. Like, Viper took a little bit of time to acclimate, and it seems like their drafts have really started to tailor towards like opening up more resources for Viper to play in the way that he wants. I don't know how you two immediately, Lennon, what are we thinking for our 2 top teams in the LPL?
I think for BLG, it's a lot of those growing pains of getting back to what was good for this team, because I think when they're at their best, you still see shades of, especially their earlier seasons, and especially in 2024. I do really want to see them continue to explore that. I still think Viper hasn't had the best of games, even though he's had some big ones, but I think he's still like an undersung value piece that they haven't really found a way to concurrently play around. At least there's always pop-offs from individuals every now and then, but we haven't seen a consistency that maybe I expect from BLG at this point. So I think that's a big issue for Bilibili. For AL, I just felt like they were playing like an empty version of League of Legends for like half of this split. It just felt like a team that was going through the motions, knew kind of on paper what they needed to do in the game, but there was no feeling, there was no kind of decision making that was being played for them. But then we started to see a little bit of an uptick in that, especially in week 2. A little bit of a dip, I feel like, in terms of like personal performances, but as a team, they were still able to find a lot of consistency. And I think they're a lot closer to what we expect them to be now, even if maybe they haven't reached that high. And I think that comes from a lot of the play from Tarzan being back in a confident position, being back in a position that it feels like he's kind of just running the map with Kyle a lot of the time. So it feels like we've had some shaky starts to the year. Maybe that's first split nerves or first split bias. But I think we're starting to get back to a point where we can trust these teams a little bit more.
I think for me, and I think you hit the nail on the head, Mazel, when it came to AL there, where it's like Tarzan getting back in his comfort zone and Kyle opening up the map and being a lot more of a playmaker. The worrying thing for me when it comes to anyone's legend is it does kind of feel like other pieces are kind of coming back down to earth after, maybe kind of really having some breakouts last year. Players like Shanks and Hope, I think that had been on some questionable teams throughout their careers, but had opportunities before and had never really ascended until 2025. It does kind of feel right now like Tarzan and Kyle are opening up the map and hopefully are generating resources for this team. And if they're not, if they're going up against teams that can kind of put resources into keeping them quiet and making someone else win the game, it becomes more difficult for them to win right now. They seem pretty targetable in terms of what their early game pathing and just general game plans and draft look like. I think what they did last year was a lot of out-of-game stuff. Not saying it was all Tabe. I know that that's a big conversation. We'll never truly know what goes on in those meetings, but a lot of what they did well last year was have a great meta read very early in the year and then play their mid games better than anybody else in the LPL. And those are things that they just don't have right now. So I'm interested to see if that evolves. Of course, for BLG, like you mentioned it before, Alk, like this is a team that, yes, has the bin drama and had some chaos there. They lost to JDG twice before that. Like, this was not a team that just came up to, you know, a bad form because some stuff off the Rift happened and you had an argument. Like, this was a team that was already kind of going through it and showing their own struggles. It's a team that kind of is the too many cooks problem right now, where it feels like they don't really know what they want to do with their resources, where Knight is popping off and generating resources on his own in the mid lane, but Viper is not doing well on weak side and kind of needs a bit more assistance. On wants to roam around and play with Shun, but Shun wants to play for mid lane, not for bot lane. It just feels so weird right now, and they're struggling for it.
BLG is such an awful team in my mind. Like, this team should not be good. Like, I don't see a world. Well, a couple of things, a couple of layers here. Bin is very clearly just not. I personally don't think, with what we have seen, he has not really reached. He's a top 10 player in his role. I don't think he's a top 5 player across the world. And Shun, I think he needs to start getting his act together, because some of these games, like his decision making in mid game, where he's just like, I'm just gonna cross the river and I'll just die for free, and it's like, oh, okay, cool, we're just doing nothing then. We're gonna just waste our time. The thing that is interesting for BLG in my mind is, like, this team for the last 2 years has been incredibly player focused. Like, players hold all of the power. It comes with the territory of having some of the best players in the entire world and been in Knight at certain points. And then domestically, On has been dominating this league on this roster. Obviously, they've been swapping out jungles for their solo lanes to maybe find something. But this year, at least the commentary from BLG externally and internally has been, we're going to try and take as much power back management style for the management to try and get us into a good team. And hopefully that empowers a coach like Daney to help them. On AL side, you said Shanks. I think Flandre is playing horribly. I think that his counters have not really worked. His Rek'Sai, I mean, his Rek'Sai is 4-1, but some of these Rek'Sai games are like, he's getting carried hard. And then the Aurora, which he's using as a counter into Rumble and Renekton, I don't think these are very real. Like, the Aurora nerfs were kind of okay, but I also he is not a carry player. Very rarely have we seen in recent years him be able to pull out these carries. Like the Nefiri, it might say 1 in the win column. That should have been a loss. Even his Zahen wasn't very good. Like, I want to see him back on things like his Sejuani that he brought out last year, and maybe trying to cook up a couple of other top lane tank picks that are going to give him some kind of flexibility and mostly open up the draft in later portions. Because I want to see Tarzan on carries, but I think his Kiana on most drafts, they do not have enough to let this pick run wild with how this team is set up. And Hope is also becoming a big liability. We saw it in multiple series last year, where Hope in big moments internationally just failed to kind of get it over the line. And I'm still worried about him. I'm sad because I love him as a player. I think his story is beautiful, but now it is 2 world quarterfinals in a row where I think there is a couple of questions as to whether or not, like, is he actually going to be able to perform in these big moments and deliver for this team?
And I think that's a continued conversation that I feel like has always surrounded both him and Elk in a lot of ways. And that's why, like, in the series last night, at least one of my big focuses before I had to call off of it was talking about these guys, because I feel like these guys have been journeymen for so long. We've seen some of the highest highs, right? Like, obviously Hope was on some pretty incredible teams. Elk has won 2 championships right now, in a row. Right, but I think it's so interesting to see if these journeymen have that limit, right? Have that ceiling that they can't pass. And I feel like, to some extent, at that international level, we've seen that from both of them.
Elk is smurfing
Elk
bro.
a little bit. Yeah, I mean, not
more, for sure.
I mean, I don't know if I'm alone on this opinion. I've shared this quite a bit on the internet. I don't think BLG get to World Finals in 2024 without Elk playing the way that he did at Worlds. I really think he was that important. In Game 5 against Hanwha Life in the quarterfinals there, he just outduels Viper. They're both super fed, and he's just better, and they win the game, and they go on to finals, right? Like, I think it becomes a much harder tournament for them
Sure.
to play if he is like slightly worse. So I understand that there have been some other Elk moments internationally, but there also have been good Elk moments internationally before as well, and he has shown that he can perform at the highest level, and I don't think we've ever seen him play better than he is playing individually right now. I really do. Think
Unfortunately, he's trapped on Weibo.
Yeah.
he's trapped on this Weibo org, man.
But
Oh
they
my
did take
God.
a couple weeks to get up and running for him, and I think he finally found his like comfort spot, at least where he's playing on Weibo. But it definitely wasn't as consistent as typical, and that's gonna always come with a new team, new faces around you as well.
Let's move on. We know we're ending the regular season, so that means that we do have All Pro coming up. So, again, if you want to join us, we have our Discord. You can use the QR code, or you can just go to our Twitter. It should have a link to join the community Discord. Over there, you'll find a Google form in the announcements tab, and that'll let you have access to vote for some of the best players. We're going to be doing an All Pro for each of the groups, so Ascend, Perseverance, and Nirvana. Gentlemen, this is kind of your, I'm going to give us the stage here. You guys probably will have, I'm going to say a minute each. I want one spicy pick on All Pro. It doesn't have to be a player that you necessarily are yourself voting for, but just something that the people at home can maybe kind of wrap their minds around and give them food for thought on this one.
Who do you want to go first? Do you want to go first? You want me to go first?
It doesn't matter. I can start if it's easiest here.
Sure.
Sure, let's do it.
I'll go with you know, if you want something spicy, this isn't the spiciest pick, I think, in general, but I think the idea of it is decently spicy. I'm going to go down to Group Nirvana, and I'm going to say that Hai Chao should be the all-pro mid laner. I'm going to make the argument that he should be the pick. I don't care that Bulldog's stats are better than everybody else's. His team is better than everybody else. And
True.
I think if you are going to sit there and say, oh, all 5 members of LNG kind of have to be the all-pro for Group Nirvana, I understand. I understand that they have dominated from a group perspective and that they have really kind of pushed their teams forward. But I think the difference that Hai Chao has made for OMG is significantly greater than the difference that Bulldog is making for LNG in terms of pushing his team forward. I think he is in a group with mid laners that are all decently inconsistent, and he, in all 3 of their series wins, has been a crucial cog. I think if you have a replacement level bottom of the barrel mid laner on OMG, I don't think they're 3-3. I don't think they get to that top 2 spot. And so I would make the case that I understand if people want to go all in on LNG, but I think Hai Chao deserves a spot on the All-Pro. I think he's done more for his team in that particular case. Slightly less spicy opinion, I guess, but still kind of spicy would be Xiaoshu getting a nod on the top side for Group Ascend. I think people are really starting to open up to that. I don't think on paper you look at the names and you would necessarily pick him, but I think in terms of consistency, you know, people will throw names like 369 out there as an option. Obviously, we'll talk about Zika, I'm sure at some point. He's not really an option. You've got Saboro, you've got Bin, who are underperforming. Xiaoshu has arguably been
All of these other top laners kind of suck, dog. I think it has to be him.
Absolutely.
I'll be
Like,
honest.
I really think that, like, you know, by name value, you wouldn't think that he would be the best top laner in the LPL, but he is making a strong case to be considered the best top laner in the LPL.
I like it. Well, I'm gonna stay on the team there because I'm actually gonna, you know, think of me what you will if you want. But I was very biasly contracted by this man to put him on an All-Pro. Vampire for me actually deserves to be on an All-Pro. He had, if not near Carrier's level, one of the best Bard performances I've ever seen. After also having one of the worst Bard performances earlier in the split. And I think we've seen so much growth from this guy with all the question marks around him, with everything going his way of like how bad it looked for him last year specifically. I really have been a lot of pride in terms of what Vampire has been able to bring at least this split, and I would love to see him even in those like lower rungs of the All Pro. But I think it's still somebody who deserves a little bit of spotlight. That's maybe not going to get it as much. I think obviously you have a lot of big names that are going to have a lot of that spotlight, especially Hongq, with the fact that he's been willing to kind of play still his own game, and most of the time it worked out for him. This was a little bit out of left field, and I don't think we could do it, but I know I'm sticking with JDG, but I think Tabe deserves an All-Pro because, well, I think some of their drafts have been pretty tough. I think you obviously see the structure and direction of this team, and I don't think it would necessarily even be close to the same without somebody with his leadership. So I find it really interesting. I know I'm sticking with JDG a lot, but I think somebody else that maybe deserves a little bit of a pro is Weibo Gaming support Arha. I think we've had some rough games from him, obviously, but to be able to contend with some of the best and where he's coming from, a lot of question marks himself, I think is valuable. And some of his engages have actually been really insane for Weibo. And a lot of the time, I feel like their playmaking, while it does come from Jie specifically most of the time, I think without Arha, it would be a much different team. So those are my 3 kind of off-meta picks.
The Tabe one is just so fake.
Right, just throw him in there, man.
This
It's
team
fine.
is bad in the early game. At least AL's early game last year wasn't
But they know
horrendous.
what they need to do.
JDG, they have the lowest first blood percentage in Group Ascend. They are by and far away in terms of macro. They have one of the best first towers, one of the best dragon control percentages. But like, this team early game is not very good, and that is going to be a problem against the best teams in the world. So
put a little hat on him on the side.
Top lane's good.
Top lane. Top lane is good, but you're playing top lane, bro. You're playing you're playing Kasante into Rumble. Like, we're not.
Yes.
Xiaosu might also be the only one with a Zahen pass for me in the LPL.
Yeah,
man. There's been some bad.
But that champion's also just, I don't think that champion's very real. So
yeah.
I don't know how much we'll see. I'll take my spicy pick here. Group Perseverance. I know I jokingly threw this out in our storyboard meeting, but I think for top lane and Group Perseverance, I do think some people might throw a Keshi vote in there. I think that this kid came in with a lot of doubt. This TT team in general was looked at as generally the worst team in the group, which is a fair margin to have, but his lane has looked decent in most of these games, and some of these other top laners I don't think are really pushing the envelope in the same way. So you can blame some of the mid game. I'm willing to say that the mid game macro of this team is just awful because we have 3 LDL players and a jungler who unfortunately can't micromanage all of them. And Feather, I don't think, has had the biggest voice when previously his jungler was named Beichuan, and he was playing with Yukao, and then his mid laner was Sitab. Like, I think that Keshi has been really impressive for a rookie, and I mean the rest of the top laners. I mean, Hoya's been okay, Cube has been at best non-existent and at worst a liability. ZDZ I think is probably the most convincing top laner, but I think if people want to throw a wrench in there and ruin some all pros, I think Keshi is a perfectly fine top lane vote for this group. But yeah, Nirvana's really weird, man. Like, Nirvana, I'm so sad because I have a feeling Nirvana is just going to be all 5 LNG players, and I just don't.
I felt like Sasa actually deserved a little bit of love for some of the games he had.
No Harry love. I'm sorry, I can't do that.
Okay.
Keep a straight face. Come on,
I
bro.
can't do that one. I can't do that one. I've been a big Sasa defender, but I just think that this split has not really been it. Even his Udyr, which was a pocket, didn't really impress. And there's just a lot more champions now with Fearless, and also just the way that top lane has progressed with the role. It seems like we're going in the vein of more carries. Obviously, Rumble, Renekton, and Bessa. And then we're now potentially going to see a little bit more Varus top lane. I still don't know how real that is going to be, but yeah. All right, so we got through our All-Pro. So this is going to be the learning segment. I asked both of you for a pen and paper, and that is because one of the things that we wanted to do for the year, as you can see with our broadcast package, is embrace the Chinese section of the LPL English project. So I'm going to have both of you guys, we're going to learn a little bit of Chinese. So
I'm at a very Chinese part of my life, so.
Exactly. You've been in one for the last 5 years now. We're going to learn one of the most popular phrases, probably known by Western fans of the program. Lila, it literally just means we're arriving, or we're coming, or they are coming, or so.
I feel like we need to give the audience like a real representation of this and how they use it in games. So I think we all 3 yell it into our mics at the exact same time. You ready? 3,
wait,
2,
okay,
1.
before we yell it, we've got to learn. We got to learn here, okay? We've got to learn the word before we use it. All right. So first of all, if you don't know, China or Chinese Mandarin is spoken in tones. It has 4 tones. The ones that we're going to be using for today in Lai is tone number 2, which is going to sound kind of like when you would ask a question. So It is a rising tone. It basically is. Again, it sounds the sound you usually want to go for when you're pronouncing this tone is like if you're asking at the end of a question. So la. So we'll just do lie all together.
Lie.
I.
La.
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 All right. Now we'll put it together. K-Man, give me a Lila.
Lila.
Good. I think we'll work on your two-tone, Lennon.
Great.
Lila. Lila. Lila.
Perfect.
Lila.
Yeah. All right. So, gentlemen, this is where your pen and paper is going to come through. When you are writing Pinyin, the important thing to remember is that the way that the language was structured was with a brushstroke. So usually it doesn't matter, especially in modern form, but learning the correct pattern in which you go and which way you're using your pen is really important, especially for when you're writing traditionally. So I brought in 2 GIFs of how you would write. So for lie, you're going to be doing the crossbar. Usually you're going to be going from left to right, but as you can see, the hash mark or the tag mark on the right side there does go down and to the left. So I'm just going to ask you guys to just follow the diagrams and then show the camera your work.
Oh, the little V is an.
And I feel really bad for all of our audio listeners because I know there was someone in last episode who asked for this to be a little bit more audio based. So hopefully you can enjoy the audible version of us pronouncing the word, and then you at home can hopefully go back and look. Okay, Lennon, not bad.
Not bad. You also can't really see it that well. So I'm gonna
Yeah, it's a little hard, but just a reminder, because we'll probably be doing this a little bit more on the show or on the podcast anyway. That bottom part on the L is a hook. So
yes.
Let's see.
There we go.
Okay.
Not bad, K-Man. Not bad.
All right, I'm gonna do a new one with the.
Probably
with
just
the
need tighter
highlighted.
grouping of the characters, but.
I'm left-handed. I struggle to write English, so I.
Oh.
You know, it's
We're gonna
it's
burn
an
you,
uphill
brother.
battle for me, but here we go.
And then it's
All right, I think Lennon's gonna give it one more
down.
attempt.
with
But this
a
is
better
a
pen.
Yeah.
super popular phrase, especially if you've watched any amount of Chinese League of Legends with the original casters on it. Thank you, Lennon. Great job.
Yay!
Um,
Did I get a star?
I don't have a star to give you, but if you have one somewhere in your house, I'm more than willing to co-sign it for you.
Okay.
Got a little paper star here. That,
There you go.
Lennon. There you go.
Perfect. But yeah, this is a super popular phrase. This is something that I know Aragon's been trying to push, considering he has a partial Chinese ancestry. And if you've watched any of the co-streamers, you've probably heard this at some point. So just want to bring this over, and we'll probably be doing more of this, not only here, but on the actual show. So make sure you're staying tuned. And gentlemen, we're kind of getting towards the end of our podcast here. I do want to take us to the very last bit, which is just looking at the schedule. Again, we are recording this on the 4th, so we've already watched some of the last couple of games. We do have 4 series left. And so if there's a series that you think fans at home should be watching immediately, remember, this does go out on Friday, so I think by the time this episode comes out, all of these will be done. But if there's a series, again, that you think is really important, I think we're all looking at the one at the very end of the season, but
Obviously a banger. I think ALBLG is going to be fun no matter what. I think it's also, still in contention for that first seed, but
yep,
it's got to be IG Weibo. It has to be. Weibo have one chance to win it all, to go to playoffs and not have to go into the play-in. I think it's so important. I think it's funny, though, because anytime this happens, it's always the team that doesn't need the win that finds a win. And maybe it's just IG's time at this point. The other one for me, I actually think in IPTT is going to be really interesting. Obviously, there's still some fluctuation in group perseverance, but
no, it's not, Lennon. Stop lying to them.
it's important
Stop lying
for
to the
NIP.
fans.
It's important for NIP. And while TT might roll over and die, it's still important for NIP, so I think it's worth watching.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little biased, right? Because I'm on NIPTT tonight. So
Yeah.
obviously, go check that out if you haven't. But I'm genuinely excited for this, not because, can Thunder Talk pull off the upset? If they do, that's incredible, and obviously that changes a lot, but they have to 2-0. And let's not forget, NIP has won 2-0 this year. They have gone to 3 games in every series except the last one against Thunder Talk. Like, this is not a team that they lose every game number 1. It is something that is super consistent with Ninjas in Pajamas. If they do that again here, like, it's bad. It actually matters. And so we do need to see them lock in. You know, you mentioned IG versus Weibo. JDG versus Top Esports is just as relevant in a lot of different ways for me.
It kind of clinches the group immediately. Like, if JDG just win, then it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Like that can make the final day kind of a little more, you know, ceremonial than
Don't
anything.
say that.
So.
Don't say that. It's not nice. All right.
No, we
last day
get
matters.
ALPLG for the number 1 seed. That's a
hey,
big
at least
ceremony.
it's like
I'll give it that.
it's the pity prize. You know, if it doesn't, if the first series doesn't matter, at least we have ALBLG.
True.
Exactly.
Very good point.
And like you said, that'll determine. A reminder, if you're a visual, you will see the schedule, but if you're not, on Friday, we will be starting at 11 p.m. PST. There is a ongoing event that'll be happening directly afterwards that we're not going to be covering because it is a bunch of show matches. Jackie Love, I think, is supposed to attend. Mako, Crisp is going to be there. They're bringing in some streamers as well to play with these players. They're just going to do some show matches both on League of Legends and on Wild Rift. So we're not going to be covering those, but that is going to be accounting for the earlier start that we'll have on Friday night to end the season.
Little addition to that, it's so funny. We used to cover the Spring Gala and all the events and stuff in LPL English, but they would just like contract us to do it on the side. That's where I got to cast that crazy Uzi Penta because they did like a show match with Uzi, the 505.
Yep.
They do Wild Rift. I had to cast Wild Rift. They do TFT. That's where I got to see a lot of the skins that later came. But it's so funny and weird to me actually that the Spring Gala is not happening like within the season. And especially like the breaks that we're going to be having coming up are part of the kind of Spring Gala break for them for the Lunar New Year.
Yeah.
Where usually it's like smack in the middle of the season, we take a random 2-week break and then we come back. This is the first time that the schedule has actually worked out to be a little bit beneficial. So it's kind of cool, but it's also very disorientating for me.
I like it. I would prefer if we didn't have a random 2-week break in the middle of the season. I think a lot of the casters lose a lot of their steam of like, you know, building up reps throughout the season. The teams are just like, cool, we just took a 2-week break and did nothing. We like lost out on stage games. So again, end of the regular season, if you don't know, is going to be Friday the 6th. And then we have a 3-day break. So not as long as 14 days, but 3-day break. On the 9th, we will be back with the Knights Road play-ins. Now, not completely filled out in terms of seeding, but again, if JDG on Thursday are able to beat Top Esports, then they will be going and playing in the first play-ins round. And we have most of our rest of our bracket. We talked about it on the show last week, so we don't have to go too in-depth, but gentlemen, real quick, if I could have your 4 teams that are going to be making it out and going to Group Ascend, going to be playing in the playoffs here in Split 1, who do we think it is?
Do you want to go first or do you want me to go first?
Yeah,
you went first last time. I'll go first this time.
There you go, Lennon.
All right. So I think it's got to be LG. They're my favorites. They're going to make the run all the way to Group Ascend, and I'm going to get payoff on a bet that I made with Kangas.
Okay.
But I actually do think OMG will make the run. So I think we'll actually end up having 2 Nirvana teams, which is crazy. Obviously, I think it'll be Top Esports next. I think IG don't make it, and I think EDG make it.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's pretty spicy.
Dude,
Spice
Mako comes
coming
back
in.
from break and he's
Pretty
like,
spicy.
why are we playing
He's like, what
against
the
Thunder
hell?
Talk?
I got 3 games against Ultra Prime. What is going on right now? Oh my god. I can't fault you at all, Lennon, for your choices. I think they're pretty good. I'm gonna take most of them, I think, in terms of my predictions. I agree. I think LNG is the best team in this play-in stage. I think that they don't have that extra life, buffer because they're.
What if they choke?
I mean, if they choke,
against
that's
TT,
incredible. Because it's going to be Thunder Talk, and then of course I believe it's reseeded on the second stage. It usually works like that, so they'll probably play one of the other Perseverance teams that ends up coming down. I mean, or they might play Invictus. You never really know how that goes. I think LNG should be better than all of those teams.
What if TT wins more games in that series than they did all split?
They
Take
could.
the
They
5.
could. All right. So you gave me. So you said LNG.
LNG.
Yeah. I'll take LNG. I think I do believe in the Ascend teams. I think they're the 6th best. So I think Top Esports and Invictus are the 2 that I would predict. I think IG looks bad right now, but I think they're good enough to beat one of NIP or WE or EDG, whoever they get matched up against in that particular spot. I do think they're good enough to be able to take that down. And I agree. I think EDG right now is the best team in Group Perseverance. I think they are the 2nd team to move forward. I think their biggest problems when they lost their 2 series at the beginning of the year were having a bad meta read in comparison to NIP and Angel really underperforming. I think both of those things have kind of been rectified recently. And if it comes down to EDG versus WE or EDG versus NIP, I think they will beat them and qualify for Group Ascent.
Okay. Now this is where the fun part happens, gentlemen. This night's play-ins, it starts on the 6th and it ends on the 9th. We're going to have 2 best of 5s every day for the first 3 days of the play-ins. And then we're going to take, I think, another short break for playoffs.
I think it's a week, right? Because it doesn't start back up till the 19th.
Yeah, so we're going to have a week in between play-ins. And if the schedule is like how it's been any other time, because the playoffs or the finals are going to be on the 8th, that means we're probably also going to have double best of 5 days when we come back, at least for 1 or 2 days, which is how it was last year as well. So
at the start,
not too surprising. Yeah. So for everybody at home, make sure that you're obviously tuning in for the regular season, which will be closed out by the time this podcast comes out.
What was your top 4?
My top 4?
Get away from that.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah.
I think it is Top Esports. I think IG look really terrible.
Let's go.
Like Rookie is... Do I think Rookie is worse than any combination of like Karis, Bulldog, Haru, Haichao, and like Care / Angel? I'd probably put him in the middle of that pack. Like, I think he's clearly better than Haichao, clearly better than Haru. Do I think he's better than Care right now? I'll take Top Esports. So Top Esports, LNG. I really want to see this okay, so this is twofold. Really want to see this WE team succeed. And I really just want EDG to go back in Group Nirvana, because it would just be too perfect to have this team perennially be, wow, they're too good for Group Nirvana, guys. Like they're just way better than their opponents, and then fail every single time. It just writes itself at this point. So I'm gonna go for WE.
Who's your last?
This is
Does that mean
cringe,
you're going for
man.
NIP? Thunder Talk?
No,
perhaps?
there ain't no way, bro. There ain't no way.
Yeah, I'll take an NIP. I'll take an NIP
No
right now. I'll take Hoya and Group
way.
Ascend again. I'll take Hoya and Group Ascend right now.
Oh my
Chaos.
God.
Chaos
Free wins.
maxing.
Free wins coming. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, something like that.
Back to the old Group Ascend, where they had 2 teams that just were limping along and getting brutally beaten every day. I'm looking at you, TT and FPX.
We have to balance the groups, Lennon. You have to understand there have to be punching bags in every group.
LCK didn't balance their groups. HLE got knocked out of the second group the day, 2 days
That's
after
because
Ultra
their
Prime
format
did.
is trash. That's because their format is trash.
Very true.
There is no reason why a team that goes 2-3 should be qualifying into playoffs over a 0-5 team.
There's no reason a team with 0 series wins should make it ever into playoffs.
There's a 1-5 team in that group as well. Don't forget. There's a 0 or a 1-4, a 0-5, and a 1-4 team in that other
crazy.
group.
Well, hey, at least
And
we don't
still
have that
make
format
playoffs. Look, we made this. I thought about this earlier because you brought up the Juhan former world champion, but that also means we have more world champions sitting on the bench. Gumayushi, you've got Zeka, you've got Zeus, all waiting. Send us back Kanavi. I agree. We should send Juhan over. Like, yeah. All right, and then we'll figure out the support later. I don't think we're getting crisp, but we'll see. All right, gentlemen, that has been the end of our 4th podcast episode. Obviously, K-Man will be seeing you later on tonight for the EDG or the NIP versus Thunder Talk series. Any last words that you guys have before we kind of kick it to a playoffs and we're going into the postseason now?
I think if I have final words to make a declaration, I don't think Billy will be making first stand. I believe that team will be on the outs. I think they have too much going on right now. JDG, anyone's legend. They're the top 2 teams in the LPL. Book it. Call it here. They will be going to first stand.
All right. Well, I think it's ALBLG going first, Stan. That's just me. A little bias there. Little shout out. Make sure you check out the IG Weibo series. Just also biased because I'm going to be on that series. But it's also potentially important for Weibo. Should be a lot of fun that last day. And it's, again, I said at the beginning, it's crazy that we're already getting into playoffs for Split 1. Feels like just yesterday we started.
Thank God. We will be getting to
Big guy?
playoffs. We're going to be seeing best of fives. I think that's the most exciting part of having a fearless system
Finally.
in terms of draft. So thank you, everybody, for joining. And again, if you have any suggestions for bits that you want to see us do here on the podcast, or even a title for an LPL English podcast, all greatly appreciated. Please share, like, and subscribe. We'll be back on Friday with another episode for the play-ins, and we'll see you guys around for more LPL English action.
Lila!